This is the mystery bike. If you happen to catch my video of Eric and I going across to Port Angeles recently, I'll put the link up here somewhere. It was a terrific trip. We picked up this beautiful, beautiful e-bike. I got to fly around on the e-bike that I chose for that day. That was the Enuro. And I had a blast with that dual motor beast going up and down through the mountains. It was a blast. But this is the mystery bike. This is the Velotric Discover 2. And it's quite possibly one of the nicest e-bikes I've ever tried. I don't just mean like it's one of the nicest e-bikes for a lot of people. I mean like it's one of the best e-bikes I've ever seen and experienced riding. I was blown away when I was over in Port Angeles riding it around, and I've been really looking forward to doing the review today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ride around Victoria. I'm gonna stop in a couple of spots. I'm gonna share with you what I like and what I don't like. But as a very special addition, I'm also gonna interview Eric, the owner of the e-bike. I'm gonna ask him what he likes and what he doesn't like, and what are the sorts of things that he would want to improve upon with this e-bike. Before we take off, let me just share with you a couple of things that were, I think, noteworthy at the very beginning to know about it. And that is, it's got a 750 watt motor at the back, and it's got a 48 volt electrical system at the front with the battery. It's about 14.5 amp hours. I think it works out to 705 watt hours. I'll put the exact number up here. But it's also got a maximum weight capacity of over 400 pounds. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing. As a big guy riding around e-bikes and testing out e-bikes, there are a bunch of things that I really want to make sure and ensure are going to be good for big guys. And one of the things is that it's got the capacity to be able to be a big guy approved, but also it's got to be comfortable. I got to be able to sit on this for an hour or two and have no issues whatsoever. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm actually going to go back in here and we're going to run through some of the numbers, and then we're going to go for a ride around Victoria. So I'm under this beautiful shade here with the Velotric Discover 2, and one of the things I wanted to share with, let's start from the ground up. It's got the Kenda 27.5-inch tires, and they're not too wide and they're not too narrow. And why that's important is even just in the ride coming here, it just freewheels beautifully. There's almost no rolling resistance. Like, I'm so accustomed to big fat tires, you know, those 4-inch, there's so much resistance. And God forbid your battery ever dies on a fat tire bike, you're gonna have to pedal, and that's hard work. And on here, I'm actually gonna test it without the battery being used at all, like no electric power coming from the motor, because I'm just curious as to what that's gonna be like to actually just have to pedal at home if the battery were to die. Yeah, this is me with no power. Like, there's no power at all here. I have boost if I wanted it. So for example, I could hit it. Oh, and it won't give me any boost either. So, hey, you know what? No throttle, but I'm still able to ride, and I'm doing about 15 to 20 kilometers an hour, depending on how flat the terrain is. But yeah, this works. This is a lot easier than a fat tire bike. Holy jumping. Hey, I gotta put the power on and keep going. Now, the other thing, it's got some really interesting things. There's some sort of an engineering feat underneath the seat here, which is something I've never seen before, but it's really nice for cushioning. The actual seat itself is something else as well. It's something in the hip bone area. They're sort of on top here that gives you extra comfort. It's like almost extra padding underneath the hips. So riding it has been absolutely lovely. The actual shocks at the front, you can have lockout. I think there's a little bit of play here of about 80 millimeters or something like that. But bottom line, the shocks are lovely. It does have very powerful brakes. They are hydraulic, and they're the Tektro or Tektronic, or I always forget what they're called. But anyway, I'll put that up here. They're lovely. Again, completely silent, and that's obviously partly because it's a brand new e-bike, but there's absolutely no noise when you hit the brakes. So far, I'm absolutely loving it. The other thing it's got going for it, it's got both a cadence and a torque sensor. But there's gonna be a little bit more about that, and I'm gonna actually ask Eric a little bit about that and what he likes. The last thing before we hit the trails is the display, a beautiful full color 3.5-inch display, which you can see absolutely super easily in this beautiful sunshine. But what was really interesting with it is you can tailor make the e-bike to the way that you want to ride. The handlebar itself, I love this swept back design. This makes it so comfortable. It makes my spine straight up and down, nice and rigid, nice and flat, and it just makes me, it gives me the ability to ride for a long, long time without any discomfort whatsoever. Yeah, well, that's moving quite nicely. Okay. Beautifully. And I like the color. I know I'm colorblind, but I like the color. What is the word of the day from Michael?
The word of the day for the Velotric Discovery 2 is superior.
Superior. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Michael. Hello, sweetheart.
We'll have to get the cat to sign a release, but
I think so. So I lied. Instead of me sharing what I liked and what I didn't like, what I'm actually going to do is we're going to do it together. This is Eric, the owner of the bike. Let's start with what you don't like.
Okay.
What don't you like about the Velotric Discover 2?
So I only have actually one thing that I don't like.
Okay.
It's that I can't buy it in Canada. I don't know if you've told the story yet about,
no.
Well, so luckily we live right on the border, and we were able to hop across the border in order to purchase this fine bike, because again, I could not buy it in Canada because of, well, an absolutely silly regulation governing the size of the motor.
Right.
You can buy them in Canada sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah.
And officially, you can't import them into Canada. I don't know how people are able to buy motors of this size. But anyways.
And it's not a massive motor. It's a 750 watt motor, which, you know, if you're a big guy and you're going up down hills, 750 watts is kind of, you need the power, I think.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted this bike. I wanted a motor of that size. It's a silly, it's a ridiculous regulation. I couldn't buy it in Canada, so we had to take a trip over to Port Angeles, which I think there's a video coming out.
The video's already out. Yeah,
the video's already out about that. Yeah,
we've already
done it. It was a lot of fun.
This was the mystery bike, so I mentioned that.
Right. That's the only thing I don't like.
That's good to hear.
I love this bike. I
can see why you like it. I absolutely can see it. And in fact, I think this is possibly, you're going to think it's weird to say, but this is the second best e-bike I've tried.
Oh, there you go.
And the first e-bike you've also tried.
Yep.
And that's going to be a mystery for a future date.
Okay.
But my goodness, price point, value, it's not heavy either. It's, I think it's 66 pounds.
Yeah, something about that.
So it's not crazy heavy. I wasn't sure, like there are a couple of weird things, like a couple of cheap things with regards to like the reflector and the bell, but that's so minor. Let's start with what I liked. First,
I'm curious to know what
I liked the power, but what I really liked was how smooth it was for riding around the city. This is the perfect way to get around a city, I think. Like as an urban commuter, urban riding around the city, the seat's comfortable, the shock underneath the seat's comfortable, the front shocks are comfortable. It's got enough width that I feel comfortable going in the corners. And tires, yeah. Michael just whispered tires, and he's right. The tires, rolling resistance, I did a little test with no power, riding it around. It was no problem. I got up to about 15 to 20 kilometers an hour, which that's not super fast, but it's, it's an e-bike. If I'd been on an e-bike with fat tires, I'd still be there because it's terrible. There's so much rolling resistance. What did you like?
I should mention that I actually bought this bike sight unseen, again, because I couldn't test ride it. I couldn't get it in Canada. I bought it based on specs and other reviews that I had seen. I mean, there's the value of reviews like what you do.
Thank you.
It gave me enough confidence to say, you know what, I'm actually going to pay for it in advance and pick it up and hope I like it. And sure enough, I absolutely did like it. What appealed to me is, well, I mean, I wanted an upright stance like it has. Mm-hmm. I do want this for going all around the city because this is my primary vehicle. I don't have a car. My wife has the car.
Right.
I get around on scooters and bikes.
Yep.
And this bike is, extremely comfortable, waterproof like crazy.
Right, because
did you talk about the battery?
Well, the IP66 on the whole unit.
Yep.
IP67 on the battery.
On the battery.
And peace of mind, puncture-resistant tires.
Right.
So when you are boogieing around, at least probably you shouldn't get a flat tire.
You shouldn't get a flat tire, and you shouldn't have any issues with it conking out when it gets rainy, which it absolutely does here in the winter.
UL certified, and this is a big deal for me. Like, I'm starting to get a little bit more picky in my old age, and the pickiness comes into, I really like to see e-bike batteries integrated into the frame. It just looks nicer.
I like that as well.
Like, it looks normal. It looks. I've seen a few recently. Like, we were at the show. Eric and Michael were both at the Everything Electric show recently, and we saw some beautiful e-bikes. We saw some, amazing numbers on them. They were comfortable, but a bunch of them have like a lip showing the battery,
the bolt on.
Then they've other ones are actually literally bolted on the side. I'm like, it doesn't look as good.
That appealed to me as well. I mean,
it just looks polished.
Even the battery itself has the same finish as the rest of the bike. So
right.
Other than it being fatter, it doesn't even look like an e-bike.
Now, I think I misspoke earlier in the video with regards to the cadence versus
torque sensor.
Torque sensor.
Right.
This has a
torque sensor. Yes.
Not both. To your knowledge, it's not both.
They're actually, strangely enough, they're actually advertising that it's switchable, that you can change it in firmware, but it does have a torque sensor, and that's certainly how this is set up currently, which is why it's so natural feeling when you pedal.
I remember when you picked it up, you spent a few minutes in the display sort of setting it up the way that you wanted it.
Yep.
So what kind of things did you do there?
I made sure I don't like cruise control. I turned that off. I set the maximum speed at the speed which the Canadian regulators do not want you to ride at.
20 miles an hour, 32 kilometers.
Exactly. This is capable of 28 miles per hour, which is what, 40 something kilometers an hour. So I just took the maximum off. That's all I can remember that I
Now, are
changed.
there any ways to adjust how much power is being delivered, or is that just through the pass and the boost and the eco?
So you can, you adjust that on the fly. Basically, there's nothing in the settings, but it does have an enormous amount of selection. I mean, you saw there 3 different sort of not gears, but grades of speeds: eco, trail, and boost, which deliver different amounts of power to the motor. And then within each of those grades, you've got 5 different gears or levels, 1 to 5. So
it had no problems getting me up the hill. We went straight up to, we went right up to Rockland. We went through past the castle. It was just a beautiful, beautiful ride. We didn't go by the ocean today, but I love the color. It's just so smooth. Anything else that I've missed?
I haven't seen the video yet, but
oh right, good point.
I'm sure you
didn't come with us. So how's he know what I missed? I probably missed everything.
You noticed overall, it's an extremely comfortable bike, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. This is the spec that I bought it on. It was all really, everything here is all about comfort because it's going to be my main ride, and durable in the winter, and. And the other thing I really like, which appeals to me, is it's got
the Apple
Find My, which is actually right in. You don't have to add an AirTag, and unlike an AirTag, it doesn't
announce it's there.
Announce that it's there, and lets the thief know that you're actually
an Apple tag.
Right. They'll see a notification still on their own iPhone if they happen to have an iPhone, but at least it gives you enough time to start the search, inform the police, and chances are find it before it goes too far. So like that, yeah.
Love that. So I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up, 2 big thumbs up. Big guy approved.
I'm going to match yours.
Love it.
2 more. 4 thumbs up.
4 thumbs up. I just thought it was lovely. So yeah, well done. I think this is a fabulous purchase.
Big guy approved.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing other bikes like this. I think I may be a bit of a convert to this style of e-bike now. So thank you.
I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Got